Sarsfield and Airbank. Next stop, Down Hall. To the first Hurry, please. Stand clear. Doors closed.
Frank Erne climbed onto a southbound train at Redfern Station at 3:47 p.m. He sat opposite a woman wearing a knee-length camel hair coat. "She's very fat," he said to himself as he pushed the earphone of his Walkman as far into his ears as he could without hurting himself. Someone was discussing reconciliation. "Words are very interesting," Frank thought. "And some have a nice sound. Diaspora. 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 Now that's a new word. Well, it isn't exactly a new word, but they've only just started using it on the radio. It sounds good, like it's special, and you should hold on to it for a while. But the meaning isn't so nice. And paradigm, for another instance. I hate paradigm. Well, I hate the way it sounds. People seem to say it with a little smile. Not many people can say it without a little smile, like they know a huge secret. I've seen them do that. Or poignant. Poignant is quite a good word. It should be a good word, but it makes people smile in a funny way. It never sounds pleasant or caring. It's not the meaning of it that makes it unpleasant, it's more the way people say it, as though they're saying that something is terribly upsetting and sad, but behind the smile they know it isn't sad at all. Yesterday when I was watching science on the television, they talked about the black holes and the wormholes in the universe. They know everything about black holes and wormholes, even though they've never seen one or found any. How do they know that nothing ever comes out of a black hole if they've never seen anything that's gone into one? How do they know things disappear forever? Maybe they just change into something they can't see, like they can't see the hole. Fat people's knees stay very far apart when they're sitting down. If you can go into a wormhole, it's a few meters long, come out in another galaxy millions of light years away, how do they know that we're not already in a huge black hole? How do they know that we haven't already disappeared? It used to be just infinity that was upsetting. I used to think about that a lot. How nothing can be nothing without being something, and what was at the end of it. Maybe nothing is a black hole. I wonder why Mum called me Frank. Not Francis, Frank. Auntie Beryl might know. Oh, but she'd get worried if I asked, and I can't ask Mum because she's dead. Auntie Beryl gets a worried look when I ask questions like that, as though I might want to move in. I have a Frank name and half an Ernest name. Frank and Ernest not spelled quite right, but that would have been enough to amuse Mum. She had that kind of sense of humour. It was hard to know what she meant. She always answered in a very serious way, but it was hard to be sure of what she meant. When I get home, I'll put the kettle on to make the tea. I have quite a lot to do when I get home. I have to do the housework and put the potatoes on the gas. They take a while to spot, so I'll put them on as soon as I get in, and Shirley can put the cups up because she won't have anything to do. Shirley can come up because she'd like some nice tea for a change. Or maybe she'd like coffee. Shirley's very thin. She has sharp elbows. Then there's gatekeeping. Marx said that there are gates at the front of culture where people wait, and sometimes they're not allowed to go in. What is it in there that they want to go to? They wouldn't let Shirley in. She wouldn't like the booby babies. Shirley's always been frightened of babies. please. Words are important, I said. Look for the essence of truth, Frank. Shirley's place is a terrible mess. She has too many newspapers, so you can hardly get in the door. It's much better if she comes to my room and we can have Colin at the table. There are some of those pointy wooden spikes on the roofs of those houses. They look quite dangerous. When I was little, I thought they were a precaution against aerial invasion. I always worried what it might feel like to fall on one. But a good paratrooper could steer a parachute easily between the houses. I told Mum that. And anyway, they would probably aim to come down in a park. But I don't understand why people want decorations that look dangerous like that if they have no meaning. It could have something to do with lightning conductors. But wooden ones would be useless because they'd burn. Or is it something to do with God? Mum would know about that one way or the other. That was why she gave me Colin. I think she gave me Colin because she knew she was leaving. She said, "Here's a helper for you, Frank." But there are questions that you just can't ask Colin. I'll make the tea. Shirley can put the cups out, but she doesn't make nice tea, and she's been to bingo at the Catholic Club at Hurstville. She gets on the train at King's Cross, and the train goes all the way from Bondi Junction to the waterfall. I've never been to the waterfall, but Shirley gets off at Hurstville. Inconscionable wasn't in Colin. I know that because I looked for it, even though it didn't sound like a careful word or a good-natured word. But I wanted to know if the shells were in it that we listened for the sea in. Then I realised I was looking for N instead of un. Sometimes there are comforting words inside unkind ones. By this time Frank had worked out quite a few things and was feeling pleased with himself. He hadn't noticed that there had been no tunnels. Once I said, "What about serendipity, Mum?" And she said, "Serendipity, Frank? What kind of a word is that? It's a dizzy word, Frank, a dippy word. In fact, it sounds like a bashful schoolgirl," she said, "or a Julie Sound of Music sort of word. It has no substance, Frank," she said, "no solidity." Mum always had an explanation for everything. She was really good like that. When I asked her a question, she always smiled, not like the smile people use when they say paradigm or poignant, more like the smile they have when they say, "My goodness, Frank, what a card you are." Mum was always smiling. Well, nearly always, except after the computer analyst. That time she said, "I just want a strong person in my life, Frank, not a psychic leech." And then she cried. We didn't see him again, and I think she was glad. "It's irony, Frank," she would say. "Just remember that. Not cynicism, but irony." At 4:17 p.m, Frank climbed out of the train at the wrong station.